Hi, everybody. Good morning and welcome to another great episode of Thrive Gwinnett. This is our Rocket IT's community-focused video series, and I'm going to be the host today. I am Colleen Frangos. I'm the Community Relationship Coordinator at Rocket IT, and I've got a special guest today from CTR Commercial Real Estate, Jason Ferguson. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It'll be fun.
We've known each other for almost a year now, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Our organizations are pretty close in our why and in our mission of really helping others thrive. And I think we really let that shine through in not only the people that we work with, but working with our teams. So today we've got a fun chat. And again, this focus with Thrive Gwinnett is really geared towards organizations in our community who are making positive impacts in spite of a very challenging year. So 2020 has been awesome for, in some ways, and we can get into that.
Awesome. Okay, I can't wait to hear more about that.
Why? But, I think there's been a lot of challenges that our teams have really come together, rallied as a team, have been able to shift how we do things to help others thrive, and that being a lot of our clients. I'm really impressed with what your organization at CTR Commercial Real Estate, your focus in what you guys are doing. But I think for the benefit of anybody listening, I'd love to hear from you, Jason, a little more about your role as a broker over there and being a connector, how you make the organization all go smoothly.
Well, I don't know if I do that, but yeah, I'd love to tell you a little bit. CTR stands for Commercial Tenant Representation. Rob Coatsworth founded the organization 27 years ago with the intent of representing people who are underrepresented, which I think just as a mission is something that everybody can get behind. Everybody wants to be part of an organization that's representing underrepresented people.
Absolutely.
In this case, that was in the business world. If you think about very logically and simply, every business out there that's not virtual has an office or a warehouse.
Right.
They're either renting that or they own it. Okay, so it's really very simple. In the marketplace, there was nobody representing their interests solely. So when it goes to negotiate with either a landlord or a seller, a lot of times the brokers were serving both sides of the coin.
Gotcha.
And so Rob saw that as an opportunity. Why don't we specialize in that side of the table where we represent the local businesses, the entrepreneurs, and let's be their advocate.
I love it.
And so that's what we're about.
That's huge.
It's fun.
Yeah, and you're relatively new to the organization. You've been there now a year.
That's right.
And I love, we were talking about this earlier, I did a little LinkedIn stalking, and looking at your tagline of being a connector for Atlanta businesses, helping them thrive as the advocate at CTR. So I want to talk about that being a connector. I think of it as the Giants' 5 voices, and I'm a pioneer connector, and I think connector, I feel so closely is who I am, because I love connecting with others. I think it's meaningful. I think it's a great way to build relationships that are meaningful. So tell me about you being a connector.
Sure. It starts really 10 years ago. I started my own business, was an entrepreneur, solopreneur. And I always tell people that was the best, worst time of my life. Just a great learning experience. What I found is in that entrepreneurial world, those are my people. That's I connected the most with fellow business owners. And as that business eventually died and I moved on into the corporate world, what I knew that I wanted to do was stay connected to the entrepreneur community and help them thrive.
That's cool.
My specific gift on this earth, if I have one, is I don't have a fear of the ask. And so how that helps me in being a connector is as I talk to people, I ask a lot of questions. I don't have a fear of asking deep or maybe sometimes inappropriate questions so that I can get to the real heart of things, get to really know people.
Yeah.
But when you get there, people will open up, especially in a business context. You may go in thinking, I'm going to sell you HR because that's the company that I work for. Mm-hmm. But if you have a business conversation and a personal conversation, oftentimes it'll lead you to what they really need.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, if you can meet a need, I've always said, I think the old saying is a friend in need is a friend indeed.
Yes.
I never understood that. I've always understood it better in my brain as a friend who meets a need is a friend indeed.
Ooh, okay. That's
my interpretation. If you see a need, okay, great. What are you going to do about it?
Right.
And so I love connecting. I get more, internal satisfaction out of making a positive connection. Yeah. If I heard what you said and you need a banker or you're trying to hire the right person and I happen to be connected to that person, I love making those genuine, meaningful connections because a lot of people want to help. I've found this. A lot of people want to help. If you ask for help, every single person says yes. Yeah. Not many people know how. They don't know how to help.
It's true.
So I see it as my place in this world is in that instance, I know how to help, and that's connecting people if I can. Friends of mine or people in my network. And so I get a lot of satisfaction. And at CTR, that's how they've always gone about their business.
Right.
They've always seen their role as serving the community and serving our clients, whatever capacity that means. And so moving from the corporate world into commercial real estate, it was less about what I was doing, commercial real estate, and more about who I was doing that with and how they go about things. And our personal missions align so well that it's a great fit.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And I feel that way about myself and Rocket IT. I think it's just when those values align, I think it's just a magic mix.
For sure.
Very, very blessed.
Well, and it makes it so much more comfortable when you can operate in your strengths.
Yes.
And that's valued in the organization as well.
I
when
agree.
that can happen, that's the magic. A lot of people, they're working in a role that they like enough, but it maybe exposes some of their weaknesses or places where they're not in their strengths. And while you can do the role, it just doesn't do the same thing on the inside. But when you can work in your strengths, that's the key. Yeah.
That's so true. Well, and speaking of that and talking about need, I think we both, with Thrive Gwinnett and Highlights of Hope, both on LinkedIn, I think we're trying to use social media right now as a great way, not only to give us and give other organizations a little visibility, but really bring to the forefront the positivity that's going on in our community with our clients, with our neighbors, with people that we are just around all the time who are doing great things. You're doing that with Highlights of Hope on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear why you started that.
Yeah. So as a company through COVID, all right, so let's just put a few things on the table.
Sure. Throw them out there.
Commercial real estate.
Yes.
You have two halves of it that we operate in. One is the office place and one is warehouse flex industrial type things. As we all know, the office has not been the most popular place through COVID.
Oh, yes.
So as a company that helps companies find office space, we had a little bit of time on our hands, which is not necessarily good. And so the first couple of months of that, there was some fear and trepidation, just like everybody else.
Right.
But as we moved through the summertime, what we started to notice was the overarching narrative in our country seemed to be fear, anguish, depression.
Yeah.
A lot of just this cloud of, I'll say negativity, but it was deeper than that.
Right.
That was hanging over our entire country.
Very heavy.
Yeah. Very heavy. Everybody felt it.
Yeah.
A lot of people still feel it.
Yeah.
And so as we pondered that as a company, we said, all right, even so, our mission hasn't changed to serve the community and serve them well and serve them where they are.
Right.
And we said, why don't we try to change the narrative a little bit if we can?
Yeah.
why don't we highlight hope that we're seeing? Because we're not being fed that by social media by and large, news media by and large.
Right.
A lot of our echo chambers are not feeding us good news.
Yeah.
But there is good news out there.
Right.
And so we said, all right, that's something we can do.
Yes.
Because a lot of times we look at, we want to make a difference, we want to make a change, and it seems bigger. It's, I can't be Mother Teresa.
Right.
That sounds great. I would love to make an impact like that, but that's too big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people, they stop at, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw this as a very simple, there are good things happening. Why don't we just highlight what we see specifically either in our community or with our clients?
Yeah.
And so we made a list of it one day of a lot of the good things we've seen. And then we have an internal communication going that as something that seems like should be highlighted, we communicate that so that we can then put that out there as just little nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, even if you want to believe, even if you want to have hope, oftentimes when you're in a dark place, it's hard to see that.
Yes.
But what I've found is you can borrow other people's hope if it's tangentially related to you. If you're looking for work and the news media is telling you we're in a depression, a recession, you're like, oh, well,
why bother?
I don't know how I'll find it.
Yeah.
But if the news media or whoever you're around is like V-shaped recovery, companies are hiring, all of a sudden you may still be unemployed, but you can borrow some of that hope and be like, okay.
Keeps you going.
Here I go.
Yeah.
So we saw that as, okay, let's change the narrative for whoever is watching our LinkedIn. And our reach is not huge, but for whoever happens to see it, let's just highlight the little things that are going on. And maybe that hits the right person at the right time.
Yes.
And they're like, I see that, and that helps me get through today.
I agree.
If we can do that,
that's huge.
We
that's
have accomplished highlights of hope.
I love it.
Yeah, it's been really neat. The feedback has been great, and it confirms we are all wanting good news.
Yeah,
we are all wanting hope, even if it's just these little morsels.
I agree.
We want it and need it, and so it's been a pleasure to do for sure.
Yeah, well, in a team effort, like you said, I mean, as a team, you guys are really trying to make sure that each of those instances are captured and shared, and I think that's huge.
Well, we all have that same ideal, that same mission, and a lot of us, it comes from a deeper place of we feel like we have a personal mission, each of us, to be a light in this world. The light is most needed in the darkness.
Yes.
You know, what I've found over the last 10 years or so, just growing up and maturing, I guess, a little bit, is what I've noticed out here, especially in the suburbs where we live. Not a lot of people need each other. They're self-sufficient. They're okay. And so the community suffers from that. Whereas if you go to other communities where there's maybe a higher level of poverty or less affluence, people realize their need.
Yeah.
They have needs and they pull together as community. And so we just really enjoy being able to highlight some of that hope and meet a need if we can.
I love it. Yeah. It's beautiful. It makes me so happy. I remember stumbling upon it one day when I was just on my LinkedIn feed. I was like, yes.
And we do the same. When we see something like that, somebody posts some good news, we're latching on to it too. Good news. Look, there's some good news.
Finally.
Yes. So hopefully that continues. And I believe we're on that track for more good news, which is
absolutely helpful. Well, Jason, we nailed it. I think we had a great conversation today, and I'm sure we've talked more than my 10 minutes that I always try to shoot for everybody. Never happens. There's so much to say, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate the efforts that your team is going to really bring those highlights of hope to the forefront. So I appreciate you being here today in person, which was so fun.
Right.
So thank you.
Well, and thank you just for reaching out and noticing.
Yeah.
That inspires us to keep going as well. And let that be a lesson to all of us. If we see something that we like, let them know and encourage them.
I agree. I love it. Great message.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for everybody for tuning in, and stay tuned for another great episode of Thrive Gwinnett. Until then, bye.